welcome to the show. I'm Megyn Kelly. Hope you had a great weekend. It was a very busy one in the news. Joining me now to discuss what's making the rounds today, NBC's Stephanie Gosk and Joe Ling, along with Rolling Stone contributing editor Joe Levy. All right, so welcome to you all. Great to see you. Happy Monday. We begin today with a bombshell accusation that is rocking the confirmation process now for Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. I mean, basically, the guy was all but confirmed when we went away for the weekend, and now there are questions. Over the weekend, a woman came forward with an accusation of sexual assault against Kavanaugh from when both were in high school 30 years ago. Kavanaugh strongly denies it, and now the question is, what should happen next? NBC's Kristen Welker has the very latest. Watch this.
And now, Judge, the podium.
This morning, new scrutiny of President Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Judge Brett Kavanaugh. Christine Blasey Ford, a 51-year-old California college professor, accusing Kavanaugh of sexual assault when they were both in high school. According to the Washington Post, Ford described Kavanaugh as stumbling drunk at a Maryland house party in the 1980s when she claims he pinned her to a bed and groped her while another teenage boy watched. Ford telling the Post, quote, he was trying to attack me and remove my clothing. Then when she tried to scream, she said he put his hand over her mouth. I thought he might inadvertently kill me, Ford told the Post. Ford originally laid out the allegations in a confidential letter received by Senator Dianne Feinstein back in July. So why is Ford going public now? She says after being bombarded by reporters, she decided it was time.
She just felt like, as she put it, these are the ills I was trying to avoid, and they have come to pass anyway, so I'm going to do it.
The White House saying on Friday, Judge Kavanaugh categorically and unequivocally denied this allegation. This has not changed. Judge Kavanaugh and the White House both stand by that statement. On Capitol Hill, bipartisan calls to delay this week's committee vote on Kavanaugh. Republican Senator Jeff Flake, whose vote could break the nomination, now telling the Washington Post, for me, we can't vote until we hear more. While Judiciary Chairman Republican Chuck Grassley is questioning the timing of the revelation, adding Judge Kavanaugh's background has been thoroughly vetted by the FBI on 6 different occasions. Maine's Republican Senator Susan Collins is a critical swing vote and was pressed overnight.
Do you believe the accuser?
I don't know enough to make a judgment at this point.
Which is an appropriate answer, right? I mean, that's what they're going to try to look into this week. So where does that leave us? Because the vote is scheduled for committee on Thursday. Chuck Grassley is in charge of whether that goes forward and appears to be full steam ahead on it. And I'll start with this. His point is this woman came forward to Dianne Feinstein in late July. They had Brett Kavanaugh up there for 4 days on Capitol Hill. These Democratic senators who had been notified of it had private one-on-ones with Kavanaugh. They've had the opportunity to raise this. They've known, and they've had the chance to raise it with him, and they didn't. And now we're 4 days before the vote, 5 days, whatever it was yesterday. And now she's come. Now we know her name. Now we know the allegations. And should this stymie the allegation, just as a due process matter, given the way it's been handled?
Isn't part of the reason that it came up in meetings, but not specifically, it was because she didn't want her name revealed?
That's right.
And it wasn't until she decided that she wanted to be named. And unfortunately, what she tried to do was to do this anonymously and have it affect the vote. But this is a public process. And unfortunately, the only way to do it would be to come out publicly. And now the public should hear her story. And you actually had Kellyanne Conway this morning saying that there should be a hearing on this. And I'm struck by Grassley's comments. You know, he's basically saying that this was politically motivated. And I can certainly understand that as a theory. Look at the timing of it. Absolutely.
And she's a big Democratic donor.
Right. But you also have to consider the fact that something that is politically motivated can also be true. I mean, the events could have happened even if the revelation of them was politically motivated.
And this entire process has been politically motivated or politically managed. You know, we're talking about a process that seems to have been rushed, where thousands and thousands of pages regarding Kavanaugh's time in the White House working for George W. Bush were presented to Democrats at the very last minute, at the 11th hour.
But that ship has sailed. That has nothing to do with this.
Well, all I'm saying is, should we be rushing now? Should we
But
take a
they're
pause?
two separate things. You don't use a Me Too allegation to delay a confirmation vote on a Supreme Court justice because you're unhappy you didn't get documents not relating to the allegation.
Okay, so let's separate them. But let's say, was there a rush at one point? Should we be rushing now? That's my only question. Should we take our time and give this a thorough hearing?
It seems like that may be a possibility here, especially after what has been said. Her lawyer went on the Today Show this morning and said she'd be willing to testify under oath in a public hearing. That is a major step for someone who previously did not want to be identified. She's reportedly been receiving a lot of hate mail, a lot of scary stuff coming inbound now. And so she's willing to speak out. The question is, will the Judiciary Committee chairman actually allow this to happen?
The stakes are always higher when there's politics involved. And we saw this with the Roy Moore accusers as well. The women, two of them came on this show. They were Republicans. Roy Moore was a Republican. But still, some Republicans backing him said it's political. And the women were saying, how is it political? I'm a Republican. You know, I just don't like this particular man, and I had this experience with him. In this case, it's dicier because she is a Democrat donor. His accuser, Christine Blasey Ford. Her lawyer, Deborah Katz, is a very well-known Democratic activist who, by the way, her lawyer was very defensive of Bill Clinton when he got accused of Paula Jones and said that one allegation of Bill Clinton allegedly taking out his private parts in front of Paula Jones wasn't enough for sexual harassment. But now wants to, this Supreme Court nomination not to go forward because of this allegation. I would say this. On the one hand, as a lawyer, you look back, if Christine Blasey Ford is making it up, she chose an interesting way of doing it. If you're going to make up an allegation about a guy just to scurry the nomination, to ruin the nomination, why do you put another person in the room? Her allegation is that years ago they were at a party. She had a one-piece bathing suit on with clothes over it. We haven't independently confirmed this is what she told Washington Post. And that Kavanaugh got her on a bed, was pressing up against her, and then she tried to scream and he put her hand over his mouth. And there was a third person named Mark Judge, a friend of Kavanaugh's, who jumped on top of them twice. The second time, she managed to get loose and run to a different bathroom and save herself. If you're going to make something up just to hurt somebody, why do you put another person in the room? And why do you choose a friend of the alleged perpetrator?
It's a really good question.
I'd say it was just me and him.
Yeah.
That's it.
There are a couple of other details, too, though. There's the fact that in 2014, she talked about it in therapy with her husband. The fact that Deborah Katz, think of her what you may, had her sit down and do a polygraph, which she
The polygraph, though, can I just say before you go, the polygraph to me jumped out. She said the polygraph statement reflected her passing the admission that her statement summarizing the facts of what happened, she passed when asked about that. I wouldn't put too much weight on the polygraph. First of all, they're not admissible in court for a reason. And second of all, we don't know what she actually said yes to in that polygraph. We don't know who administered it. I know it was a former FBI agent, but what criteria did he apply?
That's a fair question.
I would throw that one away.
But to go to the first point that Stephanie was making, this is something she's been talking about, we've been told by both her husband and her therapist, in therapy since 2012.
There are notes.
There are notes. It's not unusual for a victim to take this long to process and be able to talk about events from a childhood moment.
Right. She was only 15 when this allegedly happened.
So if this is something that... I mean, this would be extraordinarily odd, an extraordinarily odd way of going about something engineered.
The problem, though, is that, so that's sort of, I thought her best fact was the fact that the story itself doesn't sound like that of somebody just making it up out of whole cloth. It's just, and why would she stop it at, he didn't complete the assault? You know what I mean? Like, if you want to take a shot at somebody, I think you'd be a little grander in the allegation. You wouldn't put a witness in the room.
What would be the possible reason to make something up starting in 2012?
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, it could have been his assent to, the federal bunch. If you're going to argue it on his side, right, you could say he was ascending in the halls of power. He was getting on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. She's sitting there. Maybe she had a negative experience with him. Maybe he blew her off. This is what defenders would say, right? She's been harbored. She's had an axe to grind about him, and she lays the foundation as a Democrat donor saying, I don't want this. I'm just going with the most dramatic theory in defense of him. But I'll give you a more legitimate one on his side, having said what I think her best point is. It's been 34 years. He was allegedly 17 when it happened. How is he supposed to defend himself? There's a reason we have statutes of limitation in this country, and that's because, this isn't a criminal case, but that's because memory fades, details fade, and it's impossible for him to disprove a negative, or to prove a negative. I didn't do it. His friend, Mark Judge, has come forward saying, absolutely not. Kavanaugh's defense is unequivocal. This never happened. Period. End of report.
His friend who has written a memoir about his experience with teenage alcoholism.
Right, but you know as well as I do, Joe.
And did say that he was a blackout drunk.
Correct, but you know as well as I do that being a drunk, foolish teenager doesn't necessarily mean that you are somebody who commits sexual assaults. And and Kavanaugh is not the person who's admitted
Correct.
to being a recovering alcoholic.
But the Senate now has to adjudicate it.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And someone, the statute of limitations exists in a criminal trial, but now we're talking about something totally different. And what do you do now as a senator facing these competing narratives?
Is this enough to reflect on someone's character? And that is something the Judiciary Committee has to decide with all of the facts that they can get in front of them.
And she's going to, you have to feel for her because, listen, unless this woman is completely insane and has made this entire thing up as a political hit job, then she's about to be put through it. She's about to be put through it. And that's probably why she didn't want to attach her name to this to begin with. But she's going to get cross-examined, and people are going to look into her history. I mean, listen, as they should if they're going to derail a Supreme Court nomination about it and figure out whether is she some sort of proven liar? Has she accused others? This is what we saw in the Duke case. Remember, the woman came forward. Everybody believed her. Turned out she had accused many people of rape. It was all lies. It was lies in the Duke case. It doesn't mean that's the case here. But I, for one, think it deserves more investigation.
For
it
sure.
deserves more investigation because the Supreme Court is a lifetime appointment. And if this guy does have a history of attacking a woman, of sexually attacking a woman, we need to know. And if it's not, if they can't prove it to people's satisfaction, then he should be confirmed because Trump gets his vote. I'll say one last thing. Democrats who are hoping to get rid of Kavanaugh because they don't like him as the choice, careful what you wish for. Because if you think Trump is going to nominate somebody who is less conservative than Brett Kavanaugh, if Kavanaugh falls through, you got another thing coming.